Hi.
Yeah. Truck engine.
Actually, that was I, because I started a sentence with I. I don't know where hi came from, but that's okay. Hi, how are you? I am a collector of stories. I love to hear tales. I love to read them. I love to watch them on TV. I love movies. I guess it goes along with the actor, dramatist, storyteller, and yes.
I collect stories too. I collect the 13th floor of every hotel I stay in.
I'm going to stop asking you questions.
It wasn't my question. But I thought what you were saying.
So, with your permission, I'm going to, well, I don't care if you have permissions or not, I'll tell you some stories. There's a story about a man who lived in a small town called Studena. I don't know where Studena is, so please don't ask me that question. And he made his living making shoes. And he was the most famous shoemaker in the world. Not so much because his shoes were the greatest shoes in the world, but he was famous for another reason. He was famous because he was the wisest man in town. People would come thousands of miles to ask him questions and to get his responses and get his opinions on important things. He advised kings, princes, rich people, poor people. All came to ask him questions and to get his advice. Well, one day in the mail, he got an invitation to go to a fancy dinner, a great wedding. A wealthy royal man was giving a wedding for his daughter, and he would feel honored if this wise shoemaker would come to the wedding and just be a guest. The shoemaker obliged, and he started his journey and to a town that was several miles away. Well, on the day of the wedding, he made it to the town, and he was walking down the street. Well, suddenly, out of nowhere, this carriage ran into a puddle and splashed mud all over the shoemaker's new clothes, and he looked horrible. He'd been walking for days. He smelled bad, and his clothes didn't look good. So when he got up to the gate and told the people who he was, they didn't believe him. They looked at him and said, "How can such a wise man look like somebody who lived on the streets?" And they turned him away and told him to go. So fortunately, he had a friend who lived in that neighborhood, in that town. Somebody who he had advised and who had met him before. So he went to his friend's house, and his friend dressed him in the finest clothes you'd ever seen. The finest silk shirt, the finest pants, the best shoes. The man looked good. I mean, he looked good. And again, he made his way back to the wedding. He was clean, and they said, "Now this is what a wise man should look like." And he was given the seat of honor right with the bridal party. Well, during the dinner, he decided to do some things. He took his wine and he made a toast, and then he proceeded to pour the wine on his shirt. Throughout the course, he took soup and poured it in his shoes and sloshed it around a little bit. He took his mashed potatoes and he just rubbed them on his pants and put them in his hair. And he did that throughout the night. And people were looking at him like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's gone crazy. This can't be a wise shoemaker." Finally, the host looked at him and says, What are you doing? Why are you making such a spectacle of yourself?" And he says, "I came to your gate one time before today, and I didn't look too good, so you turned me away. But I came back dressed in these fine clothes, and you let me in. It is not me you invited to this party. It is these clothes. So I fed the clothes." And with that, after the wedding was over, he went home. And he got home to his wife, to to his wife and daughter, and he pulled a broomstick out of the corner of the room. He says, even this broomstick would look like a prince if dressed in the right clothes. Appearances. How things look. Who were they inviting to the party and who were they not? There's a story of a king who had 3 sons. And he said to his 3 sons, I'm going to give my kingdom to the one of you who first rescues a damsel in distress. Good way to start a story. Good knightly thing to do, right? So the first son, the oldest son, goes out and he says, I am out to go rescue a princess. I will settle for nothing less than a princess. He gets on his best steed and he starts his way out to the country. Along the way, he runs into an old man with a goat. And he says, sir, I need some help. My goat, I need to milk my goat, and I can't do it anymore. My hands are just too old and they don't work. Could you milk my goat for me? The prince said, I am on a mission to save a damsel. I do not have time to stop and milk a goat. So he moved on. He comes across a woman with a baby crying. And she can't stop the baby crying. He says, sir, she calls out to him, sir, my baby won't stop crying. Will you help me with it? Help me stop it from crying. He says, woman, I have no time for this. I'm off on a mission. So he passed her by. Finally, he came to another old man who's leaning on an axe. And he says, sir, could you help me? I can't lift my axe anymore. So my job as a woodcutter for the king is in jeopardy. Can you help me do this? He goes, I have no time for this. And he moved on. Some say he found a place in another kingdom far away where he set up shop. And he's now going to war with many people. Nobody knows what happened to that prince. Second prince decided, okay, it's my turn. So he goes off. And he runs, and he was going to save maybe not a princess, maybe a rich woman. Somebody with money, somebody worth saving. I'm going to go do that. So he, too, goes the same path his brother did. And he comes across an old man with a goat. And the old man says, I can't milk my goat. Gives him the same speech. And the man says, I'd really like to help, but I really don't have time. So he kept going. Then he came across the old woman with the baby, and the old woman with the baby was still crying, and she could do nothing with it. And he said, I really don't know anything about babies. I'd really like to help you, but I'm off on a mission to do something. And finally, he came across the man with the axe. The man with the axe says, I can't lift my axe anymore. Can you help me? The prince says, I'm sorry, but I've really got to complete this task that my father gave me before I move on. Some say that he found a job somewhere in another country, another kingdom, working for the king. Still not saving his damsel in distress, waiting for that woman.